How good is good enough? Andy Stanley. Starting chapter 1, everything is fine. Everything is fine. If you're like most people, you believe that everything lives forever. Somewhere. That once you die, your soul goes somewhere. Most American believes in heaven. A smaller percentage believe in hell. In other parts of the world, the prevailing belief is that the soul comes back around for another lap. We just start over as someone or something else. In spite of all their differences and peculiarities, the religions of this world share one common denominator. How you live your life on this side of the grave determines what happens next. Western thoughts have all the good people going to heaven. In other parts of the world, the good people come back around as even better people, or at least with the opportunity to become better people. Think about it. Here's something to think about. If God appeared to you and asked, "Why should I let you into heaven?" how would you answer? If you're like most people, you'll answer, might run something along the lines like, "I've always tried to, I never, I do my best." Whether I'm talking to Muslims, Hindu, or Christians, the majority of the answers I receive to that question goes back to an individual attempt to live in a good life. Why? Because people believe that good people go to heaven. The moral behave yourself. Now you don't really need to worry too much about what happens next. The end? Let's get back to work. Golf, Little League, PTA, depression issues, packed and ready. But then every once in a while, something happens that forces you to seriously consider what question is next. A funeral, a health, a scare, a birthday, a glance in the mirror. You don't like to think about it. You rarely ever talk about it, but it's always there. And the older you get, the more often you find yourself pushing it from your mind. The fact is, the mortality rate for humans is 100%. And that bothers you, in spite of the fact that you believe there is something better on the other side of life. You are not at peace, and for good reason. You see, as good as you are pretty good. Aren't you, really, sure if you have been good enough? You hope so, and you are certainly better than, well, certain people you know. But how good is good enough? Where's the line? Who is the standard? Where do you currently stand? Do you have enough time left to stash away enough good deeds to counterbalance your bad ones? And while we're asking questions, I'll go ahead and throw one in that perhaps you wondered about, but were too afraid to ask. Just who is in charge of this operation? God? If so, he ought to have been a bit clearer about how this whole thing works. If our eternal residence hangs in the balance based on how we live, we could certainly do with some direction, a standard, a mile marker or two, perhaps midterm. But wait, you say it isn't the job of religion to answer these questions for me? Sure, most of the various world religions and their books do exist to answer those questions. teaches, preachers, ulama, rabbis, priests, lamas, they all are in the business of getting us safely to the other side. Specifically, they are responsible for helping you and me understand how to live in such a way as to ensure happy ending. So why are you still unsure? You've been to church, perhaps attended a few religion classes, child, and yet you are like the majority of people I talk to. You still are not confident where you stand with God. I can assure, no, sorry. I ran across an intersection quote by Gandhi that underscored the universal uncertainty associated with the religious belief. When questioned why he persistently in the arena of politics but not religion, he responded in the realm of the political and the social and economics, we can be sufficiently certain to convert, but in the realm of religion, there is no sufficiency certainly to convert anybody. Therefore, there can be no conversions in religion. Now that helpful, isn't it? Even Gandhi, he didn't find certainty in religion. To grandmother's house we go. Several years ago, my wife Sandra walked into our kitchen, sat down on the bar stool, and announced that she wanted to make a special trip to her hometown for the express purpose of talking to her aging grandmother, Helen, about eternity. I was surprised. Helen was almost 90 at the time she grew up. To going to a local Methane church until her health became an issue. She rarely missed a Sunday. She was way better than the average person. Certainly good by anybody's standards. What brought this on? I asked. I'm not sure, Sandra said. I just know I don't know how much longer she'll have with us. And I've never talked to her about God or heaven or any of that issue. For most who knew Helen, her ultimate destination would be the least of their concerns. If good people go to heaven, she was a shoo-in. Nevertheless, Sandra hoped in the car and drove for 2 hours to chat with her grandmother. Helen knew she was coming, and Sandra showed up.